Thank you very much. Thank you. I just want to Temecula list.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? Good. It's great to see you all. Thank you for being here. My name's Aaron Adams, and I'm privileged and honored to be the city manager for the city of Temecula. Before we begin, let's hear it for Diego Mondragon. Diego and his band members composed that magnificent music that you heard, especially for the city of Temecula. Actually, it's called Temecula Mist, and we were honored. Diego has played for President Ronald Reagan, the President of Mexico, and at venues across the world. He will be here after the program if any of you would like to meet him. Now, our Temecula Girl Scouts and Brownies from Van Avery Prep School are here to lead us in the flag salute. And the founders of Van Avery Prep, John and Christine McCusker, who I believe are with us this evening, formed Temecula's first ever Brownie troop in 1974. Hanna Sanders from Great Oak High School will be assisting these young ladies with the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight over the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets reclaim the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land of the free and the home of the
Very nice. You may be seated. Thank you, ladies, and thank you, Hanna. Thank you all for being here this evening. Temecula has grown in population from approximately 25,300 in 1989 to over 106,000 in 2014. And still today, when asked what residents most like about living in Temecula, the most common response revealed by the 2014 Temecula Citizen Survey was the city's small town feel and community involvement, among residents. So that's what this open house 25th anniversary is all about. It's not formal. It's keeping our community grounded to our roots as we reflect on 25 years in our hometown, the city of Temecula. And I'd like to just go off the script for just a moment. As 25 years as a city, while it's significant to me personally and professionally, I want to tell a brief story personally. It was about 35 years ago, and my grandfather lived in West Covina, and we lived in Valley Center. And there was a meeting point in between the 2 points, and that was Ranch, California. And my grandfather's name was John Adams, and he would meet me here at the duck pond in Ranch, California 35 years ago, and he happened to be a subcontractor for Kaiser, which many of you know had a lot to do with what Temecula became today. And as a young person growing up, I can remember this, and my dad's here and he can remember this. All we heard about was Ranch, California. Ranch, California. There's going to be this amazing master plan community someday called Ranch, California. Now, he passed shortly after incorporation, but I have no doubt today he's looking down, smiling on what became the city of Temecula, and he had a small role, I have a small role, and I could have landed in any city in the country, any of the 480 cities in the state, and I find it very serendipitous that I have the privilege of serving in this city that my grandfather worked on 40, 50 years ago. So I'd just like to honor him. We have several very special people here as we celebrate 25 years as a city. And before I introduce our honorary speakers and elected officials, we'd like to recognize the city's appointed commissioners with us in the audience today. The city's commissioners are appointed by the Temecula City Council and serve a critical role in decision-making for the benefit of the city. If you are a commissioner on the Public Traffic Safety Commission, would you please stand? And they include Gary Yeomans, Bob Hagel, J.R. Richardson, Skip Carter, and David Karam. Thank you. If you are here from the Planning Commission, please stand, and they include Stan Harder, Ron Girio, John Talicio, Pat Kite, and Lene Turley-Trejo. Thank you. If you are here from our Community Services Commission, please stand, and they include Zach Schwenk, Eric Willis, Michael McCracken, Cecily Nelson, and Dale Borgeson. And finally, if you are here from the Old Town Local Review Board, please stand, and we have Peg Moore, who is also an honorary speaker tonight, Albert Blair, Craig Puma, Gary Watts, and Tiffany Richardson. These commissioners and board members help our city council keep Temecula a great city. Many of our elected city council members actually began their careers as commissioners. And with that, I'd like to introduce Temecula's First Lady, our mayor, Honorable Mary Ann Edwards. And Mayor Edwards and her family have lived here since the 1980s. She first served on the Traffic Commission in the 1990s and has been a member of the Temecula City Council for a decade. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Mayor Mary Ann Edwards.
Well, this is a wonderful way to celebrate 25 years. I'll tell you a little story about Aaron. When I was Director of Development for the Economic Development Corporation in Southwest County, it was the Temecula Economic Development Corporation. It was right across the street from one of the several city halls over on Business Park Drive. And I remember this, what looked to be like a 12-year-old came sauntering into the office, and he looked like he was the same height he is now, but he weighed about 85 pounds. And he came in, and he seemed to know quite a bit about computers, and I happened to be working on the city's first web page, and we were doing it as a project with the chamber. Where's Alice? I saw Alice earlier. There she is. We're doing it as a chamber project. And he came in and he said, "Hi, I'm Aaron Adams, and I'm a new intern with the city." And that was what, 1996? 1995. So I've known Aaron since he was an intern with the city, and look how he has grown. My goodness. We're so proud of you, Aaron. So I can say I've known Aaron since he was this tall, but he was only this wide. So it is an honor to be here and to be the mayor of Temecula in this outstanding year, and I'm so very pleased to be here with all of you tonight, all of our friends and neighbors, because that's really what Temecula is all about. Magnificent community of volunteers, businesses, and you really have made Temecula the city that it is today. And yes, again, we are also proud of Temecula. And it's special to be a part of the era celebrating our 25th anniversary, our silver anniversary, in fact, because it's a unique time in our local history, since many of us can still remember 25 years ago, well, I hope so, it's only 25 years ago, when our community decided to separate from being governed by the county of Riverside. And we could tell you some very interesting stories about the battle of separating from the county of Riverside, couldn't we, Peggy? Jimmy. 1989, the years leading up to 1989, our community wanted a city with our own boundaries where we could build and create an exceptionally beautiful area to raise our kids and grandkids, and that's exactly what we did. It was just about that time when I moved to the Valley with my family, and I knew immediately that Temecula would be the place to raise my kids. We came from Orange County, and it seems like in those days that a lot of the families were coming from Orange County, not so much San Diego County at that time. And still, today, we really liked the fact that Temecula was small at that time, and I think that for the first time, we'd lived in California already probably 10 or 15 years, but when we came to Temecula for the first time, I really did feel like I was at home, because I came from a small Midwestern town. And still today in 2014, even with 106,000 people, Temecula still does retain that small town feeling, and it's for one reason. It's the people. It's you. The neighbors, your friends and neighbors. And that's why we retain that small town spirit, because we all care, we all volunteer, we're all involved, and that's why. So if you weren't here 25 years ago, you're a witness to the exponential growth of our city ever since that time. It's not just growth, though. It's the exceptional growth with standards that were really set very high to ensure an exceptionally beautiful, high quality of life that we as Temecula citizens have come to expect and continue to demand. And I think that's critical. We all expect it, and we continue to demand it of our leaders, moi and my fellow council members. And I want you to remember that. You need to continue to demand that high quality of life, because the minute we let down and we don't expect that, and we don't hold those high standards, and we don't hold our leaders accountable, that's when things will start to slip. And I do not want Temecula to ever start to slip. So we must always hold our leaders accountable, because I want my hometown, my city that I have loved and served for 28 years, I want it to always retain that small town feel, and I want it to be that city that is exceptional. So we have so much to celebrate this evening. Especially, we're grateful to the visionary community leaders from 25 years ago who took the initiative, and with their determination and dedication, our city was legally formed in 1989. All are here with us in spirit today, and a few are here with us this evening and able to share some very special words. So we are in for some very meaningful program and a very special treat tonight. But before we introduce our honorary speakers, Mr. John Hunneman of the Press Enterprise is out of town, but we'll hear this from him. I just wanted to say a few words to recognize John Hunneman, because we know that we cannot possibly fit 25 years of Temecula's history into one night. But there is one local journalist, Mr. John Hunneman, who's lived here and published countless articles and perspectives recounting the history of the city of Temecula over its 25 years and beyond. As mayor and on behalf of the City Council, we thank Mr. John Hunneman for his valued insight and credible journalism. Just Google John Hunneman and you'll find hundreds of articles that equate to 25-year history of the city of Temecula. So John, thank you for your professional journalism over the years and still today that recounts the growth and historical development of the city of Temecula. So thank you, Mr. Hunneman.
Temecula's first mayor, the Honorable Ron Parks, was elected in 1989 and served on the city council from 1989 to 1996. Mr. Parks was an engineer by trade, was later hired as Temecula's Deputy Director of Public Works during an era of Temecula's substantial infrastructure growth from 1996 until he retired in 2006. Our first mayor is currently in Florida until December 10th and sends Temecula his very best wishes. It's our privilege, and I believe they're here, that some of his family members are with us this evening, including his daughter Kelly and son-in-law Scott, and son Eddie and daughter-in-law Lisa. We are very honored you are all here. I understand neither of you are up for giving a speech this evening, but if you are here, please stand and wave. That would be great. Kelly and Scott, they're in the back there. They're hiding in the back. Kelly and Scott grew up in Temecula since 1973. Again, it's our privilege to see you here this evening. On behalf of Temecula, please send our best wishes and gratitude to our first mayor, your dad. Thank you. Now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Temecula's power couple, or as some like to call them, Mr. and Mrs. Temecula. That is Mr. and Mrs. Jimmy Moore. Jimmy Moore and Peg Moore were instrumental in the formation of the city in the 1980s. Jimmy was the chairman of the city committee, while Peg served as the secretary with approximately 30 city committee members dedicated to forming the city of Temecula. When the city was incorporated, Peg was then elected to serve on the first city council in 1989. They have both since continued to volunteer. Jimmy is on the board at the Temecula Valley Historical Society, and Peg serves on the Old Town Local Review Board. And without further ado, please welcome Jimmy and Peg Moore.
I probably should let Jimmy speak first, leading up to the time that we took office, which is 25 years ago this great day. It's just so memorable. It still stands out in both of our minds, and it was a very difficult job getting it up to that point, but it was also so rewarding that what we turned out with is this lovely city. And I'll let Jimmy go ahead and lead us up to.
She's usually not that short-spoken. Yeah, I was asked to give just a thumbnail sketch of what we went through to become a city. A gentleman by the name of Les Adam, who had AZ Magnetics, which made industrial magnetics, or magnets, before I moved here in '86, had started a campaign to make Temecula a city. Back then, though, it wasn't Temecula, it was Rancho, California. And so there was a big program to get the county to allow Rancho, California to vote for cityhood. And he had a feasibility study done. They got the proper number of signatures and everything. And it went to LAFCO, which is not something to laugh about. It's a local area formation committee. And they looked at the feasibility study and said, "Net, you don't have enough money to become a city. You're still our victim." Because the county at that time was collecting $4 million a year from the city in taxes and putting $1.5 million back into services. And Les's big problem, he wanted to expand his building to have an entranceway and have one employee in the office that he was going to build on. Well, the county said he would have to build 10 parking places if he added that many square feet to his building. So he packed up his building, went to Arkansas, and that was the last we saw of Les. At the wake we had at his building, when they announced that we weren't going to be able to be a city, a few of us got together. I was a brand new guy in town. I didn't know zip about city politics or anything like that. In fact, I'd followed Peg. Her dad had been an alderman in her hometown, and we were living in Irvine. She wanted to run for council up in Irvine, and then we moved to Temecula, so she was still interested in that. So I followed her to a couple meetings, and we just moved from Orange County. I was driving a 1981 380 SL Mercedes-Benz, wore a coat and tie, and we joined the Temecula Town Association, who I was the only one that wore a tie in there. I don't think the rest of them had ties. But we'd work for a year or so, and they got to know that we were both willing to work, and we enjoyed, and we didn't wear the tie to the meetings anymore. And so they hated the name Rancho California. And they also hated the idea of becoming a city. So being the new guy on the block, we decided, yeah, we need to become a city. Let's try again. And I was elected or I don't know if it was elected or beat over the head to become the chairman of it. Because I'm a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army, and I guess they thought I knew a little bit about leadership. And I did. I knew nothing about politics or anything like that. So we started a new committee called the City Committee. We had 30 people on it. Anybody could join as long as they would attend the meetings. And if you missed 3 meetings, you were out. And we started meeting, and we decided that, well, maybe we should have a bigger city. If we can't afford it as Rancho California, maybe we should expand it. And so we did a feasibility study and got petitions signed by enough people in Marietta Hot Springs, and Rancho California to form a bigger city. And we had a feasibility study, and the feasibility study says, yes, they've got enough money, they can become a city. We took it to LAFCO again, and Walt Abrahams, who was the supervisor in Riverside County, was also the president of LAFCO. And he happened to own property in Marietta, and most of his supporters were from Marietta. And when we went to LAFCO, they said, well, yeah, you've got enough money to be a city, but people in Marietta don't want you to make them a part of your city. So they turned us down. And we came back and said, well, okay, let's go back to the same size Les Adams had talked about, because within 2 years, the city had grown enough and the tax dollars were coming in, so we had plenty of money to become a city. And so we went back to LAFCO again. This was in early 1989, and presented our position. And they looked at it and they says, yep, that looks good. You can become a city. But you got to change the boundaries, because we had chosen Date Street as the northern boundary. And that is in Marietta, and always had been in Marietta. In fact, if the Marietta politicians had known anything about Marietta history, the boundary today would be down around, Carl Ludman's Bridge. What's the name of that street? Overland Pass, yeah. But because that was out Apple Street in the old Marietta. That was Apple Street. And had they known that, they would have demanded, okay, that's the northern boundary of Temecula. But fortunately, they didn't know it. And so we argued back and forth. And there were some businesses along Jefferson Avenue. The city of Marietta wanted Winchester. Well, that's a major thoroughfare, and you don't want a city to have its boundary right on a major thoroughfare where one side of the yellow line is one city, the other side. Peg had an accident up in Orange County in 3 cities. I'm sorry? but it was where 3 cities met, and she couldn't get a policeman from any of the 3 cities to come down and investigate it. It was a mess. Fortunately, our insurance company ended up paying for it. But the boundary was a big dispute, and we went back and forth, and we proposed Date. We held with Date, and they said no, Winchester, and we fought back and forth. And so we ended up with Cherry Street as the boundary. And that's where the boundary is today. And rightfully so. If you drive up that way, you're not in Marietta until you get past Cherry Street. And all the businesses on this side say Temecula this, Temecula that. But the one thing that I did, I think, that caused us to win the election like we did, I convinced the people in the town association that if you want it to be called Temecula, which they did, you better vote for cityhood. Otherwise, it'll be Rancho California, Rancho Caca for the rest of your life. But 80% of the people voted, or 88% of the people voted for cityhood, and 80% voted for the name Temecula. So goodbye, Rancho California. And then we had the election in November. We had great turnout. We won the thing. We had a big party over at Temecula Creek Inn that we're still trying to get sobered up from. But that was our city. So I'll let Peg explain a little bit more what the city council did when they first met.
Well, it's an expression I really don't like using, but we really did hit the ground running. We were guests the following morning, after we had been celebrating quite a bit the night before. We were guests of the Chamber of Commerce luncheon the next noon, and were introduced, taking our new positions. We met that night at Ron Park's house, and after that we met 5 or 6 times a week, evenings, afternoons, whenever we could get together, and planned what we needed to do. Thank goodness we had some excellent advice from the city manager in Lake Elsinore. We also, he advised us that we needed an interim city manager ASAP, which we did. We hired Frank Ailshire, who was our very first fantastic hire. He guided us through everything that we had to go through in order to get everything set up to run a city. I know running a household is not an easy job. Multiply that by thousands. And we kind of divvied up our jobs as to what we thought we could handle, whom we could contact about getting insurance and bank accounts and just the normal things of trying to run anything at all on practically no time at all, because I think our election was November the 6th, and this being December the 1st, we had to have everything in order. Thank goodness Carl Lindemans, who was a member of the city committee, had already had hired, well, speakers to come in and give us some instruction on what we needed, whether we wanted to become a contract city or hire our own police and fire and ambulance services. We had anybody who wanted to sit in, as a matter of fact, on these seminars, and we'd had, I think he hired for 10 different seminars. So we learned a lot about what we needed prior to the time that we had to actually take action. And we started with almost nothing. We had to give our first city manager a pocket full of quarters because we had borrowed a one-room office from our county supervisor, and he was kind enough to let us use the office he had in town. But we had no phones, we had nothing. So we gave Frank Aylshire a pocket full of quarters that he could go down the corner and use the payphone and start to get everything set up. And what I would like to point out today is this is where we came from, a pocket full of quarters to this beautiful, beautiful city, our buildings, our museums, our city hall, the theater, the things that the city has built and done, and it is just such a pleasure. Thank you very much to live here.
Before we give up the program, I know we have two members of the, other than Peg and I, of the city committee. Perry Peters, who's going to talk to you here in a few minutes. He was the head of the Chamber of Commerce at that time. And Perry, if you'll stand up. And I see Bill Boff sitting back there. Bill was Bedford, who had bought out Kaiser. And when Bill came to me when we started the second city committee, I told him, because he was a Bedford guy and didn't trust developers too much. And I told him, I said, Bill, you can have 1 vote out of 30. If you can live with that, welcome. Well, not did he join and brought his expertise. He had been city manager, had all sorts of city background, and he brought that to our committee. And also Peter Bedford donated some money to help us get started on getting the posters and stuff like that we needed. So Bill, if you'll please stand up. And is there anybody else? We had probably about 60 people in the 30 that we started with, and because some people would drop off and other people would join. Is there anybody else in the audience that was a member of the city committee? I didn't recognize anybody as I stood back there. Okay, but you can go out on the side of the building over here where the flagpole is, and there's a monument that the city committee donated to the city. It used to sit on the flagpole down in the old city hall that shows all the members who were a member of the city committee when we finally passed the vote in November of '89. Okay, thank you very much. Do you want me to go ahead? Do you want me to introduce Perry? You got it? Okay, good.
Thank you, Jimmy and Peg. And if any of you didn't know how Jimmy felt about the name Ranch California, we now know. So please take note of the framed newspaper article here, and also shown on the screen behind me, with the headliner, "Temecula, You're a City," dated after the election in November 1989. John Tanner, Vice President of RBF Consulting, dropped this off last week as a gift to the city. It's been hanging in their office for 25 years. It was signed in 1989 by all 5 of our first city council members, including our first mayor, Ron Parks, first council member, Peg Moore, the other 3 founding council members, including Sal Munoz, Pat Birdsall, and Carl Linnemans. Council members Birdsall and Linnemans have since passed on, but we know that they are with us tonight, and we are keeping them close in our thoughts. Most of us are familiar with the large sports park on the south end of town, Birdsall Park, across the street from Great Oak High School. It is named after the Honorable Pat Birdsall, as she was a very strong advocate for parks and recreation activities for Temecula's youth. And the Honorable Carl Linnemans was the driving force behind the construction of Overland Bridge to the Promenade Mall to alleviate traffic congestion. And that bridge today possesses a plaque, and it was mentioned earlier today, that is named after Mr. Linnemans. Now, another very special founding member of our community is here today, Mr. Perry Peters. Many recognize Perry as the president of Friends of the Ronald Reagan Sports Park, whose can-do spirit of volunteers raised private funds to construct the Ronald Reagan Monument at the park. Long before that, however, Mr. Peters was the general manager of the Chamber of Commerce. In 1989, he wrote a visionary letter that was published in the newspaper, directed to the 2014 Temecula City Council, looking 25 years into the future. That's today. The city would like to welcome Mr. Perry Peters to the podium to read his extremely prophetic and accurately foretelling letter. Let's hear it for Mr. Perry Peters.
You know, an event like this is usually a formality, but this is clearly a celebration. We have much to celebrate. Get into your time machine, dial it back to 1989, December 1st. Dear City Council, this column is dedicated to the Mayor of Temecula on the 25th anniversary of the birth of the city. A copy is to be placed in a time capsule scheduled to be buried in the town center shopping center. Didn't happen. The aspirations of those who came before you, their families and accomplishments, the sum total of Temecula history, are now entrusted to you. You are the caretakers of the soul of Temecula. Please remember and respect your roots. As we write this, expectations about the future are high. Like a brilliant, many-faceted jewel, Temecula glows with a rare natural beauty. A gifted decorator, Mother Nature, arranged the setting of the Temecula Valley with rolling hills, sun filtering through the mist, clear air and sweet water, and a Mediterranean climate. This was the inspiration for our settlers, who in 1989 gave birth to this new city. If our efforts and those of our successors bear fruit and our dreams materialize, Temecula in your day will be a thriving commercial industrial center with pleasant residential areas, roads over which it is a treat to drive, a center of culture and learning, an old town that reveres and preserves its place in history and shares its significance with each succeeding generation. And a nearby wine country known worldwide and protected from urban encroachment. Are the air and water truly fresh and pure and clean in your day? Are parks, golf, tennis, cycling, jogging, horseback riding, and a variety of team sports within easy access to your constituents? It is our fervent prayer that you, in 2014, will continue to receive the Lord's preferential treatment. Do travelers passing through for the first time still say, "My, what a beautiful valley"? If they do, thank you for that. We value our quality of life almost as much as life itself. We trust you do too. If what you hear are perfunctory compliments made in allegiance to etiquette, you can tell. Let that serve as a red flag, alerting you to the need to rededicate your efforts and your determination to restore that special essence that has made life so sweet for us in our time. This is written the day after our first mayor and city council were sworn into office. Caring, involved people took the time to learn about the candidates. An unusually high 40% of those registered voted. Almost 90% opted for cityhood. The campaign was positive and informative. There was no mudslinging, no negativism. The media and the candidates joined to keep the focus on vital issues of the day: traffic flow, response time for law enforcement emergencies, park and recreation, land planning. The men and women who were elected to the city council began working as a team even before they took office. They met at least twice a week, organized their time, delegated tasks, and accomplished them in order of their priority. We are proud of the important role our Chamber of Commerce played in providing opportunities for a better informed electorate and in assisting the City Council during the frantic 4 weeks preceding the formal creation of our city government, even paying to make the services of a professional consultant available. It is too early to know how successful they will be. We know they do not lack for talent, energy, motivation, or an earnest desire to do what's best for the entire community. Most cities desire what we have in 1989 and what we plan for the near future. How are things in Temecula in 2014? Have political considerations and factional disputes become dominant, making the good of the community less important? Are constructive projects being sacrificed at the altar of egos? Are rivalries developing over insignificant issues, taking time that should be spent working on solutions to real problems? Do your city council members serve with humility? Are they both servants of the people and leaders when they need to be? The power of office is an important tool the people have given you to accomplish their will. Used improperly, it can be used against them. Do most of the citizens look upon your city government as a hindrance or a help? For the sake of our children, may you enjoy the civic inheritance we pass on to you like a baton in a relay race. We choose to think it is a positive sign that our city was born between Thanksgiving and the miracle of Christmas. To capitalize on our good luck, we must run a good race. In our lap of the relay, we have sprinted ahead. But this is a long-distance race. As you get ready to receive the baton, let civic pride, not greed, motivate you to move forward. From silent, unseen bleachers, we cheer you on. God be with you. I'm 83 years old, and I had to prove I could still read. I want to thank you. I thank the City Council for giving me the opportunity to speak. I must confess, I love our city council. And I can say this after 25 years. One of them, Peg Moore, served on my founding board of directors for the Friends of Ronald Reagan Sports Park. Our mayor, Mary Ann Edwards, was on our first board of directors. Mike Nagar was the first man I spoke to when I got the idea that we needed to build a monument to celebrate the can-do spirit of this community. They all helped make it happen, and all the board and all the city council members since then. I just hope whoever comes now in the next 25 years can do half the job that you folks have done, because it's not going to be as easy as you grow. Best wishes. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Perry. I know our 2014 City Council appreciates your thoughtful letter and is proud of this city. It is incredible that Temecula's development and sentiment of its leaders matches the vision you shared in 1989. I would now like to welcome back to the podium Mayor Mary Ann Edwards.
That letter was amazing, and it was prophetic and very, very, very moving. So thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Perry, for writing that letter 25 years ago and for being here to personally share it with us so eloquently and to deliver your message to us. So when your letter surfaced earlier this year, I knew that the 2014 City Council needed to step up to the plate and that we needed to continue that tradition. So now we will write our own letter to the next City Council that will serve Temecula 25 years from now. So we've started a 25-year tradition. I don't know that ours will be as eloquent as yours, but I think that it will do us all some good to put our thoughts down on paper and air our expectations for what we hope will be continued, what traditions will be continued, and what we expect of the next City Council. So we'll have about a paragraph or so of remarks. Of course, you'll find that I far exceed a paragraph. All of our remarks will be transcribed into a letter that the city will publish. And our hope is that at Temecula's 50th anniversary in 2039, our letter can be shared, just like Perry's letter, this evening. So I'll begin as mayor, and each of our council members will follow with their paragraph. In 2039, we know the ocean wind will gust with clean air, at least we hope it will, through Temecula every afternoon, and that our air quality will still be crisp when the morning fog melts away. We imagine that families are still enjoying evening strolls in their neighborhoods and that kids and parents feel safe in our parks. So we will maintain that high standard in our wonderful parks that we have today. And that Temecula residents and business owners in 2039 will be protected with zero tolerance for crime and graffiti, because Temecula has kept public safety the highest of priorities. And that the city will still maintain beautifully landscaped streets and trails and public amenities, and that those public amenities will be expanded to include Jefferson Avenue, starting to look like an upscale, uptown, mixed-use, vibrant area. And don't forget, never lose the charm of the downtown or Old Town Temecula, where tourists will continue to visit and residents will continue to enjoy bustling, quaint streets of restaurants and boutiques and community events. Let no city leader give up on any fight to preserve the high quality of life in the city of Temecula, no matter how large or how small, or long or challenging that fight may be. Remember that in order to protect what's in the city, look beyond our borders, because the beauty of the land that surrounds the city and encompasses us and defines us, including the hills to our west. We will have purchased, hopefully, most of those hillsides to be protected and preserved in perpetuity. This includes Temecula Valley's southern wine country. Let it continue to be the most beautiful wine country throughout California. It is still flourishing with vineyards, and we trust that that council will support the plan for wine country with rolling hills, with more vines and wineries and resorts, and that the city has joined in a grassroots effort needed to preserve wine country from encroachment of urban development and tract homes. And finally, the I-15 freeway traffic. Can we please rejoice in a fully completed French Valley interchange and a finalized Temecula Parkway interchange? Although these projects belong to Caltrans jurisdiction, Temecula has had to take the lead and secure funding and completion of those projects. And we hope that freeway traffic to Temecula has improved and is free-flowing in 2039, but that the cars keep coming because it means that you've done your job, because people will continue to love and want to visit Temecula, because it is a thriving, beautiful place to live, work, and raise a family. So we hope that would be the vision for our future council members.
Thank you, Mayor. Our long-standing city council members have had deep roots in Temecula for the past 25 years or more. Mayor Pro-Tem Jeff Comachero voted in the 1989 Temecula election to incorporate the city. He served on the Temecula Community Services Commission from 1993 until he was elected to the city council in 1997, where he remains today. Mayor Pro-Tem Jeff Comachero.
Thank you, Aaron. I'll get into my paragraph in a little bit, but you left nothing left for anybody, so, but mine will be short and sweet. But I have to tell you, in sitting here and seeing some old familiar faces, some new faces, as Aaron said, I've served in one capacity or another in the city for 22 of the 25 years we've been a city. I've been a mayor 3 times, and right now, looking at these guys, I feel this big. And I should. And I think that's very appropriate. So thank you so much. I remember talking to Ron Parks one time about how the city was set up and really how the first city council viewed what they were doing. And he admitted to me, and Peg, I'm not sure that you'll agree, but he said, we didn't know what we were doing. And I said, Ron, you know what? You did pretty well. It's incredible, the decisions that were made early on. Whether they knew what they were doing or not, they had a great sense of what they wanted Temecula to be. And those of us who came after, we just were able to build on that very, very solid foundation. And it's been a joy, certainly, for the last 25 years. For all of us. Anniversaries like this, especially as joyous as this is, are always a great time to share some stories. So I've got a few. I won't bore you with all the ones because I could probably be up here for another 2 or 3 hours. But 2 things that really stick out in my mind that were poignant to me and critical to the city. The first one was I was newly elected in 1997, and my colleague Ron Roberts convinced me to get involved in the League of California Cities, which I knew nothing about. And he said, no, go, you'll get on a committee and you'll bring back good information. And he was right. But the very first meeting that I went to, they put me on a committee. It was a community development committee. And I see Sean Nelson and Mary Ann shaking their heads. They probably have heard this story more times than they care to admit. But at this little committee, there were about 40 of us. And the chairperson of the committee started off by asking everybody to introduce themselves, as we often do in those kinds of meetings. And she asked that everybody give what each one viewed as the #1 obstacle to providing a high level of community services to their residents. And as fate would have it, I'm in the last position. So I get to listen to everybody else, but even so, as they started, you start thinking in your mind about what you're going to say. And we had just come through, the only way I can put it is a very contentious meeting, and Ron Bradley, I'm glad you didn't wear your Army helmet tonight. And for those of you who were here at that time, you'll know what I mean. But Carl Lindemans, God bless him, he was a CPA, and he decided that we probably had some money in the budget that needed to be reprogrammed and put to work, and I won't get into the politics of it now, but through that process, about $8 million in reprogrammable money was found, and certainly we had needs and things we could have done with that. And we had a meeting that was difficult, because the 5 of us all recognized the different need in the community. This was 1998 or 9, I'm not sure. And Jeff Stone wanted, I believe, a theater, and Carl wanted a sports park. Everything that we needed desperately. And Steve Ford wanted us to put some money away for right-of-way so we could one day build this thing called the French Valley Parkway. Well, this was I'll say 1999. I wanted to build a children's museum, and Ron Roberts wanted to build a library. And we fought over how to divvy up this money so that all of those needs could be met at one point down the road in our city. And so I'm going to say in this League of California Cities meeting, when it comes to me, is that our biggest problem is we have political rancor. We can't get along. We can't figure out how to spend this money. And one by one, I'm listening to all these stories going around the room, many of them from small cities, many council members who said things like, we're looking for funding to teach English as a second language, and we can't find $5,000 to do that. And another council member from a city in Central California said, we're trying to find a way to get basketball sneakers for kids in our basketball program because they don't have any. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to get up and say, in Temecula, we don't know how to spend $8 million. And I love to tell that story because that was the education of Jeff Comachero as it pertains to the city of Temecula. I realized instantly at that point how fortunate we are, and we still are today. And we still fight over how to spend money. But what's interesting is you look at that debate in 1999 and the things that were lobbied for and the places where money was allocated, what happened? What do we have today? All of it. Even the Children's Museum, which Carl Lindemann said publicly, let's give Jeff $10,000 so he can hang some children's art in a trailer and he'll have his children's museum. Carl, I love you, but thank goodness we didn't listen to you. I think it was $1 million that night, but everything got allocated, everything got used appropriately. It's a great piece of history. The other thing that I think many people know, but some people may not, those of you who haven't been here that long, to me, the most critical item in our history was the approval and the ultimate construction of the Promenade Mall. And I say that because when you really get into cities and you learn about how cities are funded and what pays for what and where that money comes from, cities in California are funded anywhere, we're close to 50% funded by sales tax, depends how much commercial development you have. And that's what puts cops on the street, and that's what puts lawnmowers in the parks, and all of those things that make for a high quality of life in a community. And there was a bit of a battle going on. I don't want to rehash the whole thing, but Murrieta was doing something with another shopping center developer on the Golden Triangle. We saw an opportunity. Jeff Stone led the charge, Ron Roberts right by his side, and I mentioned Ron Bradley before. Ron, I know you don't like to take credit for things, but Ron had the vision behind how that was going to happen and how it was going to be financed, and the fact that we had to build Carl Lindemann's Overland Bridge, or we'd never get people to the mall, and it had to open before the mall opened. What did we make it by 3 days? 5 days? And how did we do it? We found money in the budget to incentivize the developer to finish it when we had to finish it. That's what Temecula is all about. getting things done and keeping things on a high level continuously year after year after year. And Madam Mayor, to your point about a paragraph, I'm going to keep it really short. And what I'd like to tell the council members sitting in these seats 25 years from now is don't ever stop caring about the city of Temecula. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Councilmember Mike Nagar served on the Planning Commission starting in 1997 until he was elected to the Temecula City Council in 1999, where he remains today. He has lived in Temecula with his family for 2 decades. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Councilman Nagar.
You gotta love it. Marianne Edwards, 25 years from now, we're still blaming Caltrans. I love it, okay? You know, I look out at everybody here and, you know, I really am a little lost for words that I'm just extremely blessed to not only be a leader here in town, but a servant. I look at so many fine people and so many people who serve on nonprofits, who are the core of this town, and so many people who have just given so much that no one person could ever take any credit for it. I have my own little Temecula story. I was courting my fiancée in San Diego while living up in Big Bear working as a firefighter, and I had to come this way to visit her as I'm heading on my way to San Diego. And remember, we got married, my bride of 23 years now, and we had to pick a place to live, so we found a beautiful home in Rancho Penasquitos and went in escrow for it. And about 2-3 weeks before escrow closed, I said, honey, something just doesn't feel right. I can't do this. Well, what's the matter? What's the matter? I can't tell you. I don't feel right about this. So we pulled out of that escrow. Well, we're living in an apartment at the time in Mira Mesa, and there was another new development coming up about 6 months later, and my wife's expecting now, and it's time to find a place to settle down, so we bought another home under construction in Mira Mesa, a beautiful community. And again, about 2-3 weeks before it was time to close escrow, my wife, I told her, honey, there's just something not right about this. I don't know what to tell you. I have, you know what, I've been in real estate most of my life. I'm not a wishy-washy guy per se, but just something, I just can't do this. Okay. She went along with it, but this time she was, you know, a little perturbed and said, okay, honey, fine. Well, where are we going to look for a home then? I said, well, you know, there's this place I used to pass coming through, and it's just called Temecula. Why don't we go look there? So we came out here and we looked, and lo and behold, we bought a house here. It just seemed right. It just felt right. And I remember back then, that was about 1991, 92, maybe there were 30,000 people living here at the time. And when I told our family and friends, who were mostly in the LA area and San Diego area, that I moved to Temecula, they go, where? We're at Temecula? And back then, we knew nobody here. I mean, literally. And so for the first 2 or 3 years, we were spending 3 days a week living at my in-laws in San Diego, just because we didn't know anybody out here, but we owned a home here. Well, as time passed, and my daughter was born, and she grew up and started going to school. You started to meet other parents, and next thing you know, you make these connections that create a community. And that's what happened to us. And, you know, I think all of you can relate. There were times when we would, my wife would send me to the supermarket for a quart of milk, something that should take all of 15 minutes, and I'd come back 2.5 hours later because I ran into my daughter's kindergarten teacher in the produce section. Or, geez, I'm sitting here looking at Gary Thornhill. I remember seeing him in Albertsons one day, literally talking in the aisle for about an hour. Okay, and I got home and got a nice chewing out. I remember my foray into politics, which I never intended, was because I lived in a homeowners association where I got a notice for too many dandelions in my front yard. Of course, that triggered the argument side of me that said, well, please show me the dandelion law. And how many dandelions are you allowed to have in your yard? Okay. And what if I grew them there on purpose? Okay. And next thing you know, I ran for the HOA board, and we sort of put the kibosh on all that sort of nonsense, and it just felt right. Next thing you know, they needed a coach to coach soccer, and soccer turned to basketball, which turned to soccer again, and time went by, and I applied for so many commissions and posts, and I remember in 1997 I ran for city council, and Mr. Jeff Comachero beat me, but I had a good time running for city council. Back then, small town, you'll do anything you want to, anything you can to get your name out, right? So I volunteer for this stupid thing, I think back now, called team penning, where there's this rodeo in town where they say, oh, it's no big deal, the horse knows what to do. I said, okay, good. So I get on this horse at this rodeo, and everybody in town's at this rodeo, and it's nighttime. And you're supposed to see how fast you can drive 4 sheep into a pen. So thank the good Lord, the horse knows what to do. I'll tell you, as soon as they lifted up the gate, that horse took off, and it was all I can do to just hold on and not fall off that horse. Okay? But that's what we did back in that day to get votes. So, and to just get your name out. But those were the funny days. But those actually were the glory days, the grand days of Temecula. You know what, you really, again, I sit out here and I look at so many faces, and I wish I can just pick out one by one by one by one. I mean, I see, my daughter's old soccer coach, Jim and Peggy Moore, Perry Peters, who lived 2-3 doors down from me for a number of years in the community where they got me on the dandelions, and on and on. And you see Jack Williams. What's Temecula without Richie's Diner? I mean, tell me, is there a Temecula without Richie's Diner? Think about that for a second. So many little pieces make up Temecula that I'd like to just say it's almost like an anomaly in time. I don't know if it could ever happen again. So with that having set the stage, this is my paragraph to the residents and the City Council in 2039. Dear residents and City Council of 2039, you're probably reading this somewhere in the Civic Center complex. We built it for you and for the generation after you. True to form with our beliefs, we did not leave you with any debt. We just came through one of the toughest periods in the country's history, the Great Recession of 2008. Temecula was not spared. People lost their jobs and their homes, and city revenues plummeted. To the degree we could, we planned for a time like that, and we weathered it. It should be an encouragement to you in whatever you may be going through. I have served the city as a planning commissioner and a council member since 1997, just 8 years after she became a city. In that time, we had a run most cities could only dream of. We built roads and libraries and theaters and museums and parks and trails. We created and fostered a $650 million tourism industry. We bought open space for permanent preservation and made public safety our highest priority. We showed the region how a council can work together with divergent interests and put aside political pettiness. Still, in my eyes, our greatest accomplishment was how we recognized the disabled. This shadow community was brought out of the shadows, and our citizens, especially our high schoolers, have embraced those with autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and a host of other challenges. I wish there was a formula I can give you, one that outlined our success. Sadly, there is not. However, if subsequent councils have handed the baton to you like we handed it to them, then you already know the formula. Make yourself low and raise others up. Serve one another as if you were serving yourself. Put the needs of others first. We did it. You're probably doing it too. I hope so. I hope the great God in heaven is approving of the work you're doing. If so, you will know it. If not, you'll know that too. Do not be afraid to make the unpopular decisions. In the scheme of things, what you think you suffer is nothing. Blessings to you. Michael S. Nagar, they call me Mike, 3-time mayor, councilman, planning commissioner, but mostly a guy who just passed this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. So well said. And if any of you have run into Gary Thornhill in the grocery store, Mike, I think you got home early, I think. Some people may still be in the aisles. Councilmember Chuck Washington has also been in the Temecula Valley for a few decades and has served on the Temecula City Council since 2003. He had to fly out of state and could not make it, so has sent us via a special video message via his iPad, Councilmember Chuck Washington.
Hello, Temecula City Council members of 2039. If I'm still on the City Council, then advise me not to run anymore. I know Temecula remains in good hands, and I'm confident that it still has that small town feel. In 2014, we basked in the knowledge that we kept our community safe while providing great quality of life for her residents, as outlined in our Quality of Life Master Plan. In 2039, Temecula still has a thriving economy that is an attraction for families, job seekers, and tourists. They love our beautiful geography, our clean air, our many cultural and recreational activities, and our great education institutions. Temecula continues to be a leader not only in Southwest Riverside County, but throughout the region. May God continue to bless her.
The city's newest elected official is actually not too new to Temecula. Councilmember-elect Dr. Matt Ron managed the Santa Margarita Ecological Reserve on behalf of San Diego State University, and he worked closely with the city as we annexed the Ecological Reserve property into the city limits in 2010. Dr. Ron was also a close partner on behalf of SDSU as we opposed Liberty Quarry. Councilmember Matt Ron.
Well, hopefully in 25 years they'll have a podium that can sort of work between my height and Marianne's height. It's a little, I gotta say, intimidating to follow up all these wonderful people and folks who've helped build Temecula into what it is today. You know, being the newest elected official, I was asked to, you know, prepare a paragraph of information on what I think 25 years folks would want to hear. Going through an election really helped me understand this community much better than I ever had. I just wanted to, before I read this, share just a couple of quick things. First and foremost, I'm glad I never had to ride a horse for votes, because I'd imagine the horse would look at me and just a resounding no. But second, you know, one of the things that really brought me to Temecula is years ago, we were working on, in the very early stages of the proposed Liberty Quarry. And we had all these maps spread out around the table, and we were talking about strategies and issues and so forth. And I looked at the map of our city, and it was a zoning map of where things were distributed in commercial, industrial, residential, and so forth. And it just so happened I was teaching a course on land use planning at the time, and I had my textbook with me, and I took the textbook out of my bag, and I flipped through a few pages, and I found the one I was looking for. That was basically almost an exact overlay of what we teach in land use planning. You know, this is how you build a good city. These are the principles you should follow when you build a good city. You know, and I showed this to folks. I said, gosh, this is what I teach, and here you guys have actually accomplished it. You should be in this book. And so it was those types of experiences that really brought me and my family to this city today. So as we move into the first quarter, or mark the first quarter of a century of Temecula cityhood, it's in stark contrast to what was here in 1989. I don't think anybody back then would have really, except for a few folks, really seen what the future was. You know, and as I was listening to folks talking, you know, you look at where the city has been. I think in 1989 we had 3 stoplights is what the number was, and today we have 110. So I don't think the recommendation is to triple that number in 25 years. But as we stand here in contrast to looking back 25 years, we have a different story to tell than so many other cities. And this story is a positive one. It's through the excellent leadership, our city staff, community members, commissioners, and city council members, that our story of change is one of smart growth, a high quality of life, and a vibrant and dynamic community. And so as we embark on the next quarter century of our history, and as your newest city council members, this is kind of what I had to say. We have a strong foundation on which to build the Temecula of tomorrow. The decisions we make today will preserve the city's distinctive character and ensure this vibrant future. I hope to see our city become a model community where businesses, educational institutions, and the city all work together to create a hub for innovation, entrepreneurship, and economic growth. I hope we have harnessed our physical, social, cultural, and intellectual resources to support and advance some of our most important regional industries, including tourism and hospitality, our wine country, healthcare, higher education, science, and technology, to name just a few. I know that as we build on our assets, these partnerships have also benefited our local music and performing arts programs, fostering a culture of creativity and expression. Change and growth does not come without its challenges. So before closing this chapter on the first quarter century, let's not forget that our region has witnessed some of the worst economic times our nation has ever faced. We've experienced extreme droughts, devastating wildfires and floods, and demands on our energy infrastructure. I know Temecula will emerge as a leader, promoting a safe and resilient community. I lost my place. See, and the nice thing I hear, just for a side note, Betsy Lowry over there had printed this up in larger text, understanding that I'm getting older. So I appreciate the foresight of our city staff too. Maybe more larger text next time though. So let's go back to promoting a safe and resilient community. Temecula will be vigilant, working tirelessly to ensure that we protect our past by coming together as a community, benefiting from those lasting bonds that were forged in a crucible of historic quarry hearings and a unified defense. And lastly, always remember what makes our city great. Never be complacent, never be satisfied with ordinary, and remember that Temecula's best days are ahead. Thanks.
Finally, Temecula's longest-standing elected official ever in our city's history is Councilmember Ron Roberts. He served on the Public Traffic Safety Commission for a few years before being elected to the Temecula City Council, where he has served for 23 years. He has been the mayor of Temecula 5 times. We have a heavy heart knowing that he is retiring next week. He could not be here tonight, so I will read a few short, significant quotes on his behalf. Councilman Roberts says, "Temecula's 25th anniversary year has given me time to pause and reflect on the city's accomplishments, and I'm very proud of what I see. We built this city on a strong foundation, and I am confident Temecula will prosper into the future. I have faith in you all. Carry on." We'll miss Councilmember Roberts, but he plans to stay in Temecula, and so we know just where to find him. And with respect to the next generation of leadership, I'd like to invite back to the podium Mayor Marianne Edwards.
I've had the privilege over the last 25 years of working as a commissioner on the Traffic Safety Commission and as a school board member and now serving on the city council, and this is my second term as mayor. So I have had the benefit of being able to work with youth in Temecula and serving as CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Southwest County. I always say, where else do you get to go to work and get hugged around the legs in the morning, by youth? So I miss being in the schools. So the Boys and Girls Club has kind of made up for that. And one of the benefits of working around children and youth is that you are energized every single day by their optimism, by their ideas and their creativity. And so I'm so pleased to be able to see you all here today. And I hope that you are all going to be as energized as I am every single day when I get to work with the kids. So we've had quite a message today for 2039, and I have a feeling that some of us may be retired by then. I won't be, but some of you might. So who better to represent the next generation than our very own Temecula youth leaders who are with us today? These teenagers are either elected or appointed to their high school student body or serve on our local youth council. The city would like to recognize these fine Temecula students for their service and leadership and for being role models to their peers. Wherever you may be in 2039, we hope in Temecula, we know you represent the future. Great job. Great job, you guys. Let's give them a round of applause. So you've heard us all talking this evening, so we want to make sure that you come back for the city's 50th anniversary, so you can rehear all the comments that you heard from the council members tonight, and maybe you can add some comments for the next 25 years and see what Temecula looks like. All right? And one of you even might be Temecula's mayor at that time. So while Betsy gives you your special commemorative pin, I want to hear your Temecula pride. So, okay, so who are the Pumas in the group? Where are the Pumas? Okay, all right. Okay, so that would be Chaparral, and so Great Oak. So we're the Wolf Pack. Anybody from Wolf Pack? Wolf Pack? Oh, don't be shy. Okay, there you go, Wolf Pack. Okay, and then we're the Golden Bears, Temecula Valley High School. TBHS. Yep. Okay, so go Bears. I'm a proud mom of 3 Bears. Okay, so everybody, so keep serving community kids. In 2039, you guys have anybody want to, like project where you may be in 2039, 25 years? Harvard, Yale, married, President of the United States? No? I'll tell you guys, as soon as I leave here tonight, I am going to the airport, and I'm on my way to Washington, D.C. I've been invited by President Obama to sit on the White House Summit for Education this year, so I will actually be with President Obama this Thursday. Yeah, so I'll tell him y'all said hi. How about that? So you never know where you may be. So, dream big. Dream big. All right? So, everyone, I want to ask you, please stay. We have a celebration after this evening. So, come up and you want to be energized and get your hopes up for the future. Come up and talk to these kids after we say good evening and wish you farewell. So, all right. You guys got your pins? Aaron's going to come back up. There you go.
Thank you, kids. You may be seated. Appreciate it. Let's hear it for the youth, future leaders of Temecula. Okay, you guys still with me? We're winding down. We got a couple more presentations here. They should go fairly quick. The city is very humbled by so many valued organizations and agencies that have been critical to Temecula's success story. We could not be who we are today without Pechanga Resort and Casino, our Wine Growers Association, our Old Town Temecula Association, all of our private businesses, small and large, investing in Temecula, from the Temecula Valley Hospital to the Promenade Temecula to our local shop owners, plus the organizations that I'm about to introduce who have a certificate congratulating the city of Temecula on 25 years. And we'd like to begin with Congressman Ken Calvert's office, I believe is in attendance. Is Brenda Denstedt here? Brenda?
Okay, first I was told that this was an informal celebration. I think I've been lied to, or you guys really know how to party, let me tell you. Wow, this is tremendous. You've had a number of very elegant speakers tonight. How lucky you are that you are so fortunate to have the leaders that you've had over the 25 years that you've been incorporated. You are doing a fabulous job. To the leadership for the city, what a tremendous responsibility you folks have. Today you are rich. Look at this audience. Look at the turnout. It's standing room only here. Today you are blessed. Today you are rich. And you have a tremendous responsibility to your communities. And I congratulate you on your future successes and everything that you've accomplished to this point. And it is my distinct pleasure today, on behalf of our Congressman, Ken Calvert from the 42nd District, to present you with this. It is a certificate of congressional honor presented to the city of Temecula on your 25th anniversary. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
More here? Yep. Thank you, Brenda. At this time, I'd like to invite from Riverside County, Olivia Barnes from the 3rd District. Is Olivia here?
I couldn't go to Sacramento. I couldn't get a flight.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and community. It's an honor to be here to be part of this celebration tonight. I'm here on behalf of the 3rd District. I'm somewhat of an orphan right now, and that our boss got sworn in as Senator Stone today in Sacramento, so obviously he cannot be here. He is here with you in spirit. As you know, his political origins are in the city of Temecula, and having worked for him for the past 7 years or so, we have certainly heard about the many successes. One of the things I would like to say, and there are many whereases in here that have already been touched upon, but in order for a community to grow and prosper, and Temecula has experienced prosperity at all levels, not just in terms of the economic engine that you are within our county, you prosper because you have formed a very solid political will to be who you are, to guide your destiny, to make the right decisions, and to give birth and life to those things that make a community. And one of the things that is evident is you are a community. So I'm here tonight to celebrate with you, to salute you, to congratulate you on the success of the 25 years, and to celebrate just the wonderful environment and city that you have created. So on behalf of the County Board of Supervisors, I'd like to present you with a proclamation to honor your 25th anniversary, to congratulate you on your successes that you bring to the city of Temecula and to Riverside County.
Oh,
so thank you so
Olivia.
much.
Thank you. I saw several of the supervisors today. I had an RCA meeting, and they send their congratulations, and we are so proud of Senator Stone. We send one of our city sons to Sacramento, so now we have direct representation in Sacramento, and we're very proud of him. So thank you, Olivia.
Next, I'd like to invite up Jerry Contra, Treasurer of the Temecula Valley Chamber of Commerce. Our chamber has clearly been very successful promoting Temecula in terms of business attraction and retention. So, Jerry, please come forward.
Hi, Jerry. How are you?
Thank you, Aaron. I'm very proud to be here tonight and be part of the celebration for a city that in 25 years has not just been there, for a city that's really growing to be a place where we're really one of the most desirable cities in Southern California to live, to work, to play, and to raise a family. And that's not easy. Because of that, I'd like to give this proclamation It reads, whereas on December 1st, 2014, the city of Temecula celebrates its 25th anniversary as a city. And whereas Temecula, since its incorporation in 1989, has grown in population from 25,300 to 106,000 people, and is a city that continues to prioritize constructing and maintaining excellent amenities, facilities, and infrastructure projects that support a high quality of life for its residents and businesses. And whereas the city continues to partner with neighboring cities, nonprofit organizations, and other governmental agencies and organizations to ensure regional economic development and cooperative relationships. And whereas through its strong partnerships and with the assurance of its outstanding organizations and citizens, Temecula has created a metropolis that attracts development and new businesses while retaining its current businesses in all industries, making Temecula an economic anchor within Southern California. And whereas the city's sponsorship and support of the Temecula Valley Chamber of Commerce continues to build the business community and foster the creation of jobs and economic development opportunities for this region. Now therefore, and I know all of you have been waiting for that now therefore, okay? Now therefore, I, Jerry Conchar, on behalf of the Temecula Valley Chamber of Commerce, hereby congratulate and present this proclamation to the City of Temecula on December 1st, 2014 for its City of Temecula 25th year anniversary.
We are so fortunate to have the best chamber in the state of California. It truly, truly is. So thank you, Alice.
Thank you, Jerry. Next, Visit Temecula Valley has branded Temecula to be nationally and internationally recognized as a tourist destination. Ken Westmeyer, chairman of the board on behalf of Visit Temecula Valley, is here in support of the city's 25th anniversary. Ken, would you please come forward?
It's always tough being the last one before cake, so try to keep it short. Yeah, we're about 6 whereases and a therefore to cake. So coming from the tourism industry and the hospitality industry in the valley, it's an honor and a privilege to do business in Temecula. The city makes it very easy for us to conduct business and to be very good at what we do. If you haven't looked around at what the city of Temecula provides in the tourism and hospitality industries, open your eyes and take a look. We lead our industries and what's going on in our valley. So a huge thanks to the city for their foresight of planning a city that's easily to maneuver through, and the pillars that we have. It's very easy to advertise and market, as he was saying. So without further ado, we'll get to our proclamation and get to some cake. Whereas on December 1st, 2014, the city of Temecula celebrates its 25th anniversary as a city, and whereas, that's 2, Temecula has experienced significant growth in tourism throughout the years due to sound economic development programs carried out by the city and by working with Visit Temecula Valley to strategically brand and promote Temecula. And whereas the city's 25th anniversary year of 2014 marks an all-time high of over $651 million now generated annually into the local economy by non-resident overnight visitors traveling more than 50 miles to Temecula. And whereas the city supports an environment that promotes Temecula Valley tourism, which in turn generates approximately 6,900 jobs and sustains a broad spectrum of local businesses. And whereas, almost there, the city prides itself on continuing to provide safe city and a high quality of life for its residents and tourists, with beautiful amenities and infrastructure that attract visitors to visit Temecula's destinations, including Temecula Valley, Southern California wine country, the Pachanga Resort and Casino, Old Town Temecula's restored downtown district, and our championship golf courses. And whereas the city continues to work collaboratively with local and regional partners, including Visit Temecula Valley, to create national and international awareness for Temecula as a tourist destination. And now, therefore, I, Ken Westmeyer, on behalf of the Visit Temecula Valley, hereby congratulate the city of Temecula on December 1st, 2014, for its City of Temecula 25th year anniversary. You guys are doing a great job.
We got cake. Thank you, Ken. That's beautiful.
I think we'd all agree that was a very good use of the whereases,
yes,
right?
Yes, it was great.
Yeah. Finally, before Mayor Edwards closes this evening, I just have a few announcements. By a show of hands, who here has lived in Temecula since 1989 or any time before 1989? Wow. I'm going to go back further. How about from the 1970s or before that time? All right, very good. I think you all might especially enjoy a photo album we have on loan from the Hotchkiss family, specifically Denise White, who is here with her brother Michael. Denise White's parents, Tommy and Irene Hotchkiss, spent their life in Temecula, serving as volunteers from the Temecula Town Association to the tractor races in the 1970s. This newspaper article from 1987 notes Mr. Hotchkiss as a walking history of Temecula. The Hotchkiss family album is out in the lobby, filled with some great photos of Temecula from the 1970s. So thank you, Denise White. Also, on all the televisions throughout City Hall, including this screen, we will be rolling hundreds of photos of Temecula growing up through the years. We hope you enjoy them. Lastly, I want to remind everyone to enjoy the anniversary cake we've been talking about out in the lobby area. And in about 15 minutes, set your watches, I'm hearing that it will be snowing in Temecula on the front porch of City Hall. So we'll meet you out there for some snow. And it's a great sneak peek of a little bit of the fun that will be coming along with the theme Temecula Chilled. Then we'll have city staff on hand who can provide public tours of the Civic Center. If you are interested, God bless you all. God bless Temecula and Honorable Mayor Edwards. Close us down.
Well, I just want to say thank you all for coming. It's been a wonderful, wonderful celebration, and we want you to stay and have cake with us. And thank you for living in our beautiful city and for helping us make Temecula what it is today. Together, we are so proud of what our city has become for these first 25 years, and I think the next 25 are going to be even better with your help and with God's help. So thank you, and happy, happy birthday, Temecula.